choice every time. Still a job to be done and a race to be won, and we know we will win every time. Just keep the faith, heads up high. We're together in this, you and I. Yes, the job will be done and the race will be won, and we know we will win every time. And we go vote for the love of we country. We go vote to protect the treasury. Vote is only doctor only. The right choice for TNT. Is the choice, PNM is the voice, PNM only way.
The PNM wins election 2020 in Trinidad and Tobago. Joe Biden picks his vice presidential running mate. I'm going to tell you a story of signs of a dictatorship and Cuba on the United Nations Human Rights Council. What's that all about? I told you folks, I'm a fair guy. I am a fair guy. I mean, who would have thought in your wildest dreams that here on Viewpoint, the Brian Heeraman podcast, you would hear a 10-second clip of the People's National Movement election song being played? I'm a fair guy. I'm a fair guy. I mean, come on. I mean, and yes, I am taking this election 2020 victory by the People's National Movement, the PNM, serious. But I'm only laughing because my brothers look at me as I record this podcast, and it's just he's the one responsible for all his laughter. Okay, I am taking this People's National Movement victory seriously. Seriously though, I want to say congratulations to the People's National Movement, the PNM that is, for 2020 election victory. It was a hard fought fight all the way around. And yes, I understand that there are recounts currently taking place and discrepancies and all that stuff, but those things will play themselves out, in the coming days or coming hours or whatever. But right now, congratulations to the People's National Movement. I'm a fair guy. I gave them a whole 10 seconds clip. And haven't given them a 10-second clip, so I want to ask God for forgiveness for that. I mean, I stomach it. I did take it, and time to move on to the governance of the country. So, like I said, the elections is over. There's a result out there now. The PNM has won 22 seats. The UNC has won 19 seats. The only difference being that the UNC has gained 1 seat. The PNM has lost 1 seat. The People's Democratic, Watson Duke Party, they haven't gotten any seats. So that's where it stands right now. So it's not a popular vote contest by any means. It's a seat contest, a constituency contest, and who wins the most seats gets to govern the country. That gets you electoral power. It gets you into the parliament. But having said that, the PNM got 161,000 votes. The UNC got 201,000, or probably just over that. But it's not a popular vote. But I'm putting that out there, in just in the interest of being fair. So that's where the results look like. So we've had 5 years of the People's National Movement, and they have gotten a second term in office. And the Prime Minister began by saying the first 2 years is going to be dark, it's going to be hard. I mean, who the hell gets into office and then starts saying immediately upon your second term in office, things are going to be hard? I mean, where is the whole, brighter days ahead, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, nothing like that. But there's a reason for that. And as I said, I did a podcast as it relates to the review of the economy. And there's a reason why he said darkness in the economy, because he knows fully well that everything that was said prior to the victory was this BS, As I said in the review of the economy, I expect nothing miraculous from the PNM in this second term of office. It's almost, I just can't understand how PNM could get people to continue to vote for him. It's almost like if they were a glutton for punishment or something. And what do I expect from this next 5 years? I expect nothing good. I expect the subsidy from gas prices to be totally removed, if not, as I recall, the Minister of Finance then saying he removed gas prices twice and they didn't riot. So he's going to remove it now. You see, folks, this election campaign was important because with this second mandate that the PNM has been given, it's basically a sanction to tell them, you know what, we agree with your policies for the first 5 years. Continue to proceed as you were. And that's what the election victories do. You give power comes to you. So whatever policy you didn't like gas prices being in the subsidy being removed, but they have a fresh new mandate. A fresh new mandate means continue, proceed, and that's what they're going to do. They're going to remove the gas prices. The US dollar situation is not going to improve, as I mentioned before, with Petrotrin being shut down, the refinery being, well, it's supposed to be sold off to the OWTU in terms of um, a contract that they had with some company called Patriotic. I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out because if Patriotic is going to buy the refinery in very, very suspicious transactions, and they're going to sell fuel to a company in, well, who's primarily based in Venezuela. I'm not quite sure that transaction is going to go through because if you think you can sell your refinery to Patriotic, a Trinidad company financed by, you know, Venezuelans officials and that kind of thing, and sell fuel, and the Americans are just going to sit idly by and watch you do that. No, think twice. You have another thing coming. They are not going to allow you to do that. So I really don't understand what's going to happen. And I just don't understand. Everybody keeps saying that how you're going to sell the refinery to the oil field workers trade union, which, okay, maybe that's fine. But who are the board of directors of this patriotic company? And I know Anson Roger is one, and I know some next guy from the OWTU is a director as well. But then what? So let's just say tomorrow morning the WTU has elections, right? And Anson Roger is no longer the president. Does he give up his interest in patriotic fuel and hand it over to the new OWTU president? Is that what's going to happen? Am I supposed to believe that Anson Roger, president of Patriotic Fuel in a private capacity, is going to hand it back over to some guy in the WTU? It's ridiculous. When he becomes, when he's as chair of Patriotic Fuel, he has no right. He doesn't have no commitment to give back anything to the WTU. I don't understand how that's going to work out, but like I said, I don't think that they're going to give it to Patriotic, and if they do, it's not going to be the interest of Trinidad and Tobago, of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because we are already on the American radars, and it's not wise to proceed along those lines. So, foreign currency institution is not going to improve. There's been no foreign direct investment in Trinidad and Tobago, so you have no source of getting any funding in terms of US currency otherwise. So that's not going to improve. And COVID-19, well, that miraculously disappeared. Well, except for on Saturday when they had like 50 cases, and now, miraculously disappeared. I expect no new cases to come up. It's going to be minimum cases that are going to die down slowly again. And, they're just going to find more excuses to lock down and to continue this drive of reducing the rights of citizens. I've seen it happen, and I don't know why certain individuals like this lockdown to prevent the virus from being spread and all that. Folks, I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. The virus is already here. If you don't do testing, you're not going to know where it is. And the only way to really contain this virus is to do large testing. It's not rocket science. It's been done all over. America is now at 66 million tests. Barbados have done more tests, I've said before, than Trinidad and Tobago. So all these miraculous cases showing up itself. No, it's not. It's not just something that just showed up. It's always been here. We only now discovering it because we only now starting to do a little bit more testing than before, but it's not nearly enough tests that we're performing to really contain this virus. So I don't think anything is going to happen positive because we have seen nothing for the last 5 years, and I don't expect to see anything for this 5 years. So that's where it stands at. I mean, and if we even, I'm going to make a prediction here, and I hope this doesn't come to pass, sorry, but I think as it relates to the Venezuela Delcy Rodriguez transaction, I honestly believe that Donald Trump and his administration, the Americans were waiting for the outcome of the election before they do anything, because they were probably hoping that there was going to be a change, so therefore they wouldn't have to impose sanctions on Trinidad and Tobago. But now we're dealing with the same bunch of jokers, then their hands are now untied, and at the end of their whatever investigation they're carrying out, I do believe we're gonna have to pay a price for that transaction with regard with selling fuel to Venezuela. America cannot and will not allow a communist state, a communist socialist dictatorship to continue on its doorstep. It would not continue to sit idly by and watch another country support that dictatorship in Venezuela, especially when they have troops that could face, repercussions from that dictatorship. They won't allow it. So we are going to face some sort of repercussions based on those transactions. And I feel really sorry for the poor people of this country, because for the last 5 years it didn't benefit, and I don't expect them to benefit in this 5 years as well. I don't know, folks, but here we are. The people have spoken. So let's move on. And having said that, I just want to put it out here. I want to put this statement out here. For those of you all who continue to feel that if you're always successful at, BSing other people, it is because you don't surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. So you may feel that you're continuing to fool a whole bunch of people. I leave it right there. I say no more on that. So let's move on to something else, something more interesting than this election 2020, something that I always like talking about. And I will continue talking about this more and more because, election 2020 Trinidad and Tobago is out. Now we move forward to election 2020 November, America. Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. So I was looking forward to Joe Biden picking his vice presidential candidate as much as Joe Biden was looking forward to find out who his vice presidential candidate would be as well. I mean, folks, Joe Biden doesn't even know if today is Tuesday or Saturday. He doesn't know. I mean, this guy is cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. He doesn't know what's going on. And he has just picked Kamala Harris as his vice presidential running mate. Kamala Harris. Joe Biden just picked the woman who called him a racist, who said that he hung out with segregationists, and who also said that she believed his sexual harassment accusers. That's who he picked for his vice presidential running mate. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Joe Biden, in my mind, when you listen to him speak and you look at him. Sorry, you can tell that he's not all up there. It's almost like if it's dementia. His memory is fast drifting away, and he's being forced upon the American people. But he has to face 3 presidential debates with Donald Trump. And when he goes on that platform, it is my prediction that Donald Trump is going to eat this guy's breakfast. Donald Trump has 4 years' experience in the White House already. He's been a celebrity with regards to his show that he hosted. He has experience and he knows how to deal with these type of situations. Joe Biden is not up for this. He's hiding in his basement. He gives very little interviews. And when he's finally placed out there in front of the American people, whatever small lead that he's going to have, it's going to disappear. In addition to that, his Democratic Party is traditionally a left-wing party. But what's been going on recently with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, they are moving the Democratic Party from left to far left. And when I say far left, I mean far left Marxist, socialist, communist left. They believe that, you have to tear down the society and build from fresh to correct all the problems that's being, plagued by the society right now. I don't believe that, like I said some time ago, the loudest voices and is not necessarily a reflection of the majority, and that's clearly a situation. We've learned that from Hillary Clinton in regards to how she was have the media blitzing her all over the television set, and everybody believed that she was going to win, and then this whole bunch of supporters came out from the Rust Belt in America and all those states, and transform Trump and put Trump in the office. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen again. The American people, they are not far left people in their majority. They believe in the freedom, they're freedom loving people, they believe in the capitalist system. They are not going to vote for any to push the economy into any far left Marxist socialism. They don't believe in socialism. Socialism will destroy America as it has destroyed every other country. Socialism, in my mind, is a great idea, but only on paper. There has been and there will be no successful socialist states anywhere in the world. And prove me wrong. Show me, tell me one. Don't go and call Norway or Sweden because those states primarily have capitalist type thinking. Even though their healthcare system may resemble something that they pay for everybody, but it's not. It's not a real deal. So if Kamala Harris is being brought out here to enhance Joe Biden's taste bud to make it look as though he's saying more, because she's going to be able to give more interviews than him, because every time they put Joe Biden in front the camera, he blows. He blows it. He can't keep himself straight. And with someone like Kellyanne Conway advising Donald Trump for this 2020 election, Joe Biden is not going to stand a chance. Kamala Harris is going to have to support herself with regards to how she once called Joe Biden a segregationist and a sexual harassment person, racist and all that. I don't know how all of that is just going to be transformed because she becomes a vice presidential candidate. It's mind boggling to even think that how they're going to overcome those obstacles. So I wait to see what happens with regards to that. But right now, I don't think he's made a very good choice. He made that choice primarily because he's trying to pull in the black votes. And I mean, Kamala Harris, when she was a presidential candidate in late last year, wasn't even liked by blacks in America as a presidential candidate. I don't think they're going to go forward for her as a vice presidential candidate in any given event. They don't see her as one of them. She probably has a big mouth, but I can tell you for sure, conservatives on a whole, they're going to remember when she was in the Senate Judiciary Committee and how she spoke and questioned Brett Kavanaugh. They're going to remember the sort of statements that she made when she accused Brett Kavanaugh without evidence of any sort of being in places that he was never. Like how he harassed this woman, Blasio Ford or whatever her name was back then. It's not going to work in Kamala Harris' favor because the conservative movement is going to remember that. She has a lot of cleanup work to do, and I'm not quite sure if she's going to be able to do it because when this campaign really heats up, it's going to be very, very messy. From March 13th or March 23rd, when the stock market went totally down in the United States, it went down to like 18,000. And this 18,000 was from 18,000 to it was previous to the COVID-19, 27,000. The stock market as of today has resumed and is now 47 to 40% higher from March 13 or March 23. It is now at 28,000 over today. Since Trump has come into office, the stock market has increased in the trillions of dollars. I mean, if one would have thought that COVID-19 would have dampened the market until November, but it hasn't. Trump has been able to move the stock market forward, and continuously, businesses love Trump. And that's something that we need to understand in Trinidad as well. We need to understand that government cannot be the primary employer of people. It has to be small businesses, and that's not something that we're not pushing in Trinidad. We're not seeing a situation where government is putting an emphasis on small business. They do everything as it relates to big business, and trying to help big business obviously is because they're friends and whatever. But big business can't do all recruitment on its own. It's not going to be capable of doing it. That's why you need to push to have small business open. Because not everybody's going to be a doctor, not everybody's going to be a CEO or manager. There has to be room for other people, and only small businesses are going to be able to take up the slack in that regard. And small businesses eventually grow into big businesses. You have to get your business sector moving. And the PNM has not been able to stimulate the economy for the last 5 years, post-COVID and pre-COVID. It's not going to happen. And yes, I did go back to Trinidad economy, but it relates because you see what's going on in America right now, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's just a matter of applying what's happening in America to Trinidad, with some tweaks, and you can get your economy rolling. But I don't know, folks. I don't know if the population of Trinidad and Tobago could re-elect Stuart Young, who has recused himself 57 times from cabinet meetings because he had a conflict of interest. Faris Awalwari for 37 times. What in God's name could you be discussing conflict of interest with you? And why would you even bring things to cabinet meeting because you have a conflict of interest? And especially when you know you have a conflict of interest. 37 times, is it 37 individual matters? Is it 57 individual matters? I don't know. But, the people have spoken. So that's where we are with that. But I want to tell you a story as it relates to, the PNM has won election 2020. And I want to say, you all know how I feel about the Commissioner of Police, but I saw something and I'm not happy with it. I saw 10 police officers come down on the constituency office. Sorry, is it the campaign office, of Barataria, so on one. And 10 police officers with huge guns, I don't know these guns' names, but big guns, all dressed up in tactical wear, including Senior Superintendent Roger Alexander. I mean, how do you find yourself there? And of course, the mission was to have social distancing. You bring 10 police officers to a constituency office to enforce social distancing, including Senior Superintendent Roger Alexander. Why? In tactical way, and your behavior, the mannerisms, folks. That is a sign of a police state when police could use harsh measures like that on the common man and not on the criminal element out there. It's not right that you see. There has to be measured approach depending on who you're dealing with. You can't bring 10 police officers to enforce social distancing at a campaign office. What madness! And telling people to wear a mask. Mask is not the law. Mask is a voluntary thing. And furthermore, cloth masks don't work. I don't know if everybody goes along with this cloth mask thing, wear cloth masks. That's a fallacy. Particles from viruses are way too small to even be trapped by a cloth mask. And if you say that it protects others, I know listeners and viewers of the Brian Heeraman podcast are smarter than that. And they know that this whole cloth mask thing is just it's a joke. It's just a joke, right? But what I saw at that campaign office, that's a sign of a police state. And that is scary for me. That is very, very scary for me. To witness that level of force being used on the ordinary folks, scary for me, folks. It is something that we need to keep our eyes on. I don't think this commissioner of police understands what he's doing. He's not the right person for the job. I've said it before, and his method in dealing with the grassroots person, dealing with the middle class person, is not right. And it doesn't look it's going to improve in the future as well. But I put it out there because I'm not seeing good signs coming from the police service. I don't know what connection the commissioner has with regards to the state in terms of the executive arm, but enforcement of social distancing policies and that it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right. Okay, so I want to talk about now Cuba. Cuba is being nominated to be on the United Nations Human Rights Council. No, that is not another joke. Okay, and it's not oxymoron. It's true. Can you imagine the United Nations? You see, everything feeds back. It's like the United Nations is now becoming like a puppy show, just like the World Health Organization. They are links. But how could you nominate Cuba to be on the Human Rights Council? Cuba, a brute. No, sorry. Let me don't say that. Let me quote from United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Hear what he has to say. It is outrageous that the United Nations Human Rights Council would offer any seat to Cuba, a brutal dictator that traffics its own doctors under the guise of humanitarian missions. Yeah, That's what he said. He goes on to say any country that values human rights should refrain from voting for Cuba onto the council. Folks, trafficking doctors under the guise of humanitarian missions. Where does Trinidad get their doctors from when there's always a shortfall? Let's leave that there. Where do you think this Prime Minister is going to vote when it comes to Cuba on the Human Rights Council? Huh? Cuba, Venezuela. This Prime Minister clearly has some sort of affection when it comes to dictators in these countries. When he votes for Cuba, and I'm sure he's going to vote for Cuba, it's going to put the Americans on even more alert as it relates to Trinidad and Tobago. It's not a good thing to be on the American radar, folks. It's not a good thing. It's not something nice to be. And that is going to enrage them even more, and they're going to want to put more sanctions on you because it's like poking the bear. You know, the bear sleeping, let the bear sleep. But when the bear wakes up, he's going to be hungry, and that's what we're doing. We are poking the sleeping bear. We need to back away from this. But I've said in initial in post even before I did this podcast that dealing with this Venezuelan dictatorship is bad, and with that gas deal that went on, with as I mentioned earlier, I predicted that I'm predicting that we are going to be sanctioned as it relates to that. That is something that we are going to look forward under this next 5 years of this PNM government, because that deal, America is not going to allow it to continue. They're not going to allow a dictatorship on their doorsteps and a country enabling a dictatorship. So those are the topics I want to discuss for episode 6. But in closing, I want to also say over the last few weeks, I've met some amazing people, and I want to call out and I want to say I appreciate everything that they have done in terms of the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate their hard work. They have done a lot of work. I want to say thanks to Runa. She's a hard-working person. Like, I've seen her work extremely hard. Shazam, Nizam, excellent workers, the excellent people. Jamal, I want to thank you all as well. I mean, these are good people. I mean, when you think that the world is made up of only bad, it's outnumbered by bad people, you're wrong. It's not. There are good people out there, and these folks are good folks out there. I also want to thank Shala and Nazimun. Um, Excellent people. I've known them for quite some time, and I want to say thanks. I really appreciate all the efforts that you all do, and I think it's great. You all do great work, and you know the struggle continues to improve the lives of Trinidad and Tobago, and we'll be here to ensure that that the best is there. Thanks for listening to episode 6, folks. Stay tuned for episode 7. God bless.